Folks, this is Andy Pedraza with Special Effects Academy. We are on the start of the week session for November 1st of 2020 in the Forex trading room. New month and election week this week in the US. So lots of stuff going on. We're going to be going through our standard agenda. A look at the prior week's results for a currency strength meter for the week and month, fundamental announcements on the calendar, a look at the daily charts for the major pairs, any setups we see in progress, and a few words in conclusion. Starting with the ledgers, we had a little bit of a drawback on the long-term account on closed trades, more negatives than positives, but we do have trades open and presumably moving in the right direction. So again, it's a zigzag. It goes up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit, and so forth. Presumably with the upper bits being bigger than the down a bit. So that's where we are right now. We'll be looking at more long-term trades in the very near future as events play out in the U.S. elections, Brexit, and a few other things going on in the geopolitical arena. Intermediate are very flat, not much change. I think a percentage point here or there. We didn't do a whole lot of trading on this account. We do have one trade open right now on the euro pound, which is carrying a small amount of profit as the week ended on Friday. On the short-term account, we slipped back to where we were the prior week, so we're basically flat on the past couple of weeks combined, almost to the penny. So again, we're rebalancing all the accounts pretty much and revising how we get into trades. Of course, this week is going to be a very strange week, to say the least, given everything that's going on in the US as well as in the UK. So we'll be doing more fundamental trading than anything else, probably for the next 2 weeks at the very least, maybe even more. So stay tuned for that. Notes and opportunities for improvement. It was a sluggish week, bouncy at the same time. We're seeing the dollar volatility as we go into this election week. It was a flat week overall. There were some drawdowns, but dollar amounts were minimal. And commodities such as oil, silver, and gold continue to hold on to gains. Relative strength meter for the past week and month, if I may direct your attention to the rightmost columns on the monthly, we can see that the biggest movers have been the Aussie pairs. So we are seeing a little bit of a pullback on the Aussie, which may be indicative of a sea change there. The Aussie had been recovering quite nicely for a while. It's nowhere near the highs it had a couple, 3 years back, but it was still trying to get to that point. And now it looks as if it may be fizzling out. So, sorry, I will be looking closely at the Aussie pairs for any longer term opportunities if we do see a break of support. The other movers are really silver, which is up about 1.75% for the month, and that's pretty much it. On the weekly, we saw silver, of course, giving up about 4%, so it was a brutal week for silver. But then again, it is trading at highs not seen for quite a few years. The dollar pairs, especially the USD CAD and the USD Swiss, also had some significant movement. And again, the Aussie pairs, of course, still led the pack in general. Euro JPY and Euro dollar also did some pretty decent moves. Again, to the point about 1.75%. But overall, the rest of the market pretty quiescent. It looks like everybody's waiting with bated breath on the US elections, and that will be the main driver the next week or so. Fundamental announcements coming up. We've got the Australian interest rate decision tomorrow night. That will be traded live. We have the Bank of England interest rate decision on Thursday. Apologies. and the US, the Fed interest rate decision that same day. And then we have Jobs Friday with the non-farm payroll out of the US and the Canadian change in employment. So all those will be traded live. And of course, this schedule, this calendar is ignoring the elephant in the room, probably two elephants in the room right now. We have, of course, the US election on Tuesday, with results that might come out early Wednesday or might drag out for weeks. There is no knowing what this election is going to bring, given everything that's been happening in the US lately. So it promises to be a very volatile event. I would suggest, if these kinds of situations make you nervous, that you do not trade the US dollar this week, but at the same time, the opportunities are going to be immense. So it's a strategic decision you will have to make, whether you want to trade in that sort of volatility or you prefer to wait for, um, I guess, calmer seas with less opportunity for gain, but certainly less danger of a significant drawdown. With that, we go on to the charts. We've got commodities. Oil has slid back significantly, almost down to the 35 level. And mostly it's the renewed COVID lockdowns that we're seeing in Europe and the expectation of the market that these may increase and spread further than Europe, driving oil again to the very bottom. If we don't have travel, air travel, land travel, every kind of travel, if that is not going to be happening, then of course the demand for oil will decrease and the price for oil will follow suit. So that's the explanation, but it still has not broken the support at the 35. So we'll see what this new week brings. The euro dollar, uncharacteristically, the dollar gained strength throughout last week, ending the week at its lowest it has been in a good couple of months. So that's where we are. I don't expect that to continue. Again, I see dollar weakness on the horizon, but of course, we don't trade what I think, we trade what the charts are doing. Pound dollar also went in favor of the dollar, but not as drastically as with the euro. And indeed, we can see that it did try to retrace multiple times throughout the week. It definitely ended up lower, so it was in the dollar's favor, but it wasn't as easy a ride as with the euro, ending at the support of that outer trend line. USJPY, a much flatter week, really didn't move in either direction. Well, I should say it did move, but ultimately net movement was almost zero. It just played around support resistance for the entirety of the week, ending right at the line on Friday. USD Swiss, much like the euro, had a significant pullback. I'm sorry, USD CAD had a significant pullback, breaking that outer trend line. And we're looking at a lot of dollar strength against the Canadian. But Thursday, Friday, it refused to move any higher. It tried, then it pulled back, and ultimately had very indecisive Thursday, Friday. USD Swiss, much like the euro, it just went up and away. Well, this pair trades in the opposite direction. So when it goes up, that is dollar strength, much like when the euro dollar goes down, it is dollar strength. So did the same thing, went all the way back up to a prior level of resistance. This is another one where I think we're going to have a fine opportunity to trade it in the opposite direction if anything spooks the dollar. And this week has all the potential you could want for a dollar spooking. Aussie dollar dropped as well, so dollar strength here, but really happened on a single day on Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, it didn't do much of anything. So I am seeing the Aussie weakness across the board. Didn't see it too much on this pair, so we'll have to wait and see if these may end up weakening at the same pace and not moving much. Kiwi dollar, again, dollar strength, and this one showed it a lot more than some of the other pairs. But ultimately, Thursday, Friday didn't do much of anything. So the big pullback was on Wednesday. It stayed above support. So no telling which way this one may bounce. But I think there's a pretty good opportunity of a break at the top if we see anything negative for the dollar coming out as a result of the election. Aussie Canadian, a flat week, tried to go up, didn't quite manage it, went back to support. So net change almost nil. Euro Swiss, one of the bigger movers of the week, though these pip distances aren't too big. They just look big on the scale of this chart. So we may be seeing a break towards the bottom. And again, I would expect some sort of Swiss strength coming into play in the next week or two as the Swiss becomes a safe haven currency against all the other stuff going on out there, Brexit, the elections in the US, etc. So we may have an opportunity to trade the Swiss to lows it hasn't seen in quite a while. Well, the Swiss pairs, as they go down, that means the Swiss franc is getting stronger. Euro pound finally broke support. We did get taken into a trade on the intermediate term account, and we do have that trade open right now. It is at profit. We're waiting to see if it moves deeper and gives us a little bit of a boost, but we do have a break of that outer trend line. Euro JPY, as I said in the currency strength meter, one of the bigger movers of the week. It pretty much went in a single direction. So we had a lot of yen strength over the euro playing out every single day. It did slow down. You can see that it started out pretty brisk Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday, it did continue, but it also tried to pull back. And while it did end up lower, there was still a little bit of a fight there. Euro Canadian tried to go up at the beginning of the week and collapsed back towards support Thursday into Friday, but ultimately a very flat pair. So we're not seeing much out of this one. We're still waiting for a break towards the top or towards the bottom. We really don't care which, but right now it is trapped in a sideways channel. Pound JPY dropping. Again, there was a lot of yen strength playing in the market last week, as well as the uncertainty with Brexit for the pound. So that played into this one. Bigger drops at the beginning of the week, and while it did try to drop Thursday and Friday, it didn't quite manage it. Always going back towards resistance. Aussie JPY, big drop on Wednesday. Not much of movement otherwise. Euro New Zealand also relatively flat. Pound Canadian, very crazy. It was going in both directions throughout the week. Ended up a little bit higher than it began, but not by much. So it's still above the trend line. And we'll be seeing if we have any opportunities to trade the pound Canadian as the week begins. I'm going to say that the big mover for the pound is going to be any sort of decision coming out of the Brexit negotiations. So that will be the thing to keep an eye open for. Same with the pound Swiss, very flat, and we're waiting for a break. We got an open trade on the long-term account, trading it up. Nice recovery there. We ended the week much better than we began, but still it did not break resistance, so we're still waiting on that. And pound Aussie continues to try to get up. It is trying to climb that trend line. It's being stopped. So it is hitting a significant level of resistance where it's at. And again, we're waiting to see if and when it will break. That is it for the chart setups we see in progress with the UK pairs. Of course, it is the Brexit negotiations that are taking center stage yet again. And this is an interest rate week for the Bank of England. The dollar pairs, the election, nothing else matters. I said it last week. I'll repeat it this week. Not even the interest rate decision, which we have on Wednesday, though the NFP at the end of the week, if everything is clear regarding the election, then the NFP at the end of the week might still do some movement to the dollar pairs. The Aussie pairs, they are showing signs of a pullback. I mentioned that before when we were looking at the charts and the strength meter. So be prepared for the Aussie to do a little bit of bouncing as it picks a new direction. And this one also has an interest rate coming out this week. The Swiss pairs, the Swiss franc is very well positioned to take advantage of its status as a safe haven for the obvious reasons. If people get spooked by the dollar, the pound, the euro, they're going to be flying towards the Swiss pairs. So keep an eye on the Swiss franc. And the euro pairs, the only thing we can say about that is that we do have an interest rate decision coming out. So just be advised of that. That's about the only thing we can say there. And words this week, I'm going to talk a little bit about choices. And given the nature of the week, it is the U.S. election. There is a choice for you, well, if you're in the U.S. But beyond that, life is one decision after another. People used to know this. This was something that was common knowledge. But at some point, this changed. And people also used to know that not deciding is the worst decision of all. Inaction will always hurt you. As traders, we make decisions all the time and we live with the results. No one is responsible for your outcomes except you. You can have anything you want provided you own your life. If you think someone else is responsible, then you're pretty much done. So, those are my parting words. It's your life, own it. Thank you very much. Do we have any comments or questions from anyone? Okay, folks, then thank you very much. And we will be back tomorrow. We'll probably be having a late session instead of the evening session just to accommodate that Australian fundy. And of course, I will advise of that in the email that will go out very shortly. Thank you very much, guys. Have a rest of a great weekend.